For nearly 3 decades, the Scream franchise has been one of the most beloved horror series in cinema history. What made it special wasn't just the brutal killings or the terrifying presence of Ghostface, but the clever writing and meta-humor that constantly played with the audience's expectations. Each movie managed to reinvent the formula while still respecting the legacy of the original film. That's why fans were incredibly excited when Scream 7 was announced. After years of speculation, theories, and rumors, the seventh installment promised to continue the story in a bold new direction. Unfortunately, when the film finally arrived, the reaction from both critics and audiences was shockingly negative. Instead of celebrating another clever chapter in the Ghostface saga, many fans began calling it the worst movie in the entire franchise. One of the biggest reasons for this backlash is the overwhelming feeling that the movie relies too heavily on nostalgia rather than original ideas. Nostalgia has always been a part of the Scream franchise, but in earlier films it was used cleverly. References to past movies were usually subtle, funny, and meaningful. In Scream 7, however, nostalgia often feels forced. The movie constantly reminds viewers of iconic moments from earlier films, but instead of creating new memorable scenes, it simply reuses the past. Many fans felt like they were watching a highlight reel of the franchise rather than a new chapter in the story. This approach quickly became frustrating for viewers who were hoping to see the series evolve instead of repeating itself. Another major talking point surrounding the movie was the return of the legendary survivor Sidney Prescott, played by Neve Campbell. Sidney has always been the emotional heart of the Scream franchise. Her journey from a terrified teenager to a strong and resilient survivor is one of the reasons fans connected so deeply with the series. Because of this, her return in Scream 7 was heavily marketed as a major event. Fans expected her character to play a crucial role in the story, but many viewers felt disappointed by how she was handled. Instead of giving Sidney a powerful storyline, the film often struggles to justify her presence. She appears in several scenes, but the narrative rarely gives her meaningful moments that truly impact the plot. The writing issues in Scream 7 extend far beyond Sidney's character. One of the strengths of previous Scream movies was the way they built a group of suspects around the Ghostface mystery. Every character felt like a potential killer, and audiences loved trying to figure out who is behind the mask. In Scream 7, however, many characters feel underdeveloped and forgettable. Their personalities are barely explored, and they rarely contribute anything interesting to the mystery. As a result, the suspense that normally defines a Scream film is significantly weakened. Instead of constantly questioning everyone on screen, viewers quickly realize that most of the characters are simply there to fill space. Another controversial element in the movie involves the return of a character long believed to be dead, Stu Macher. Since the release of the original Scream in 1996, fans have debated whether Stu might still be alive. This theory became one of the biggest fan discussions in the entire franchise. When rumors began circulating that Scream 7 might finally bring Stu back, excitement reached a new level. Unfortunately, the way the film handles this storyline left many viewers feeling disappointed. Instead of delivering a clever twist or meaningful commentary, the movie uses a plot device that feels lazy and underwhelming. Character relationships also fail to create the emotional tension that previous films achieved so well. In earlier Scream movies, friendships and rivalries often played a huge role in the mystery. The audience cared about the characters, which made the danger feel more intense. In Scream 7, many of these relationships feel shallow. Conversations between characters often lack depth, and several interactions seem designed only to reference past events from the franchise. This constant focus on nostalgia prevents the story from developing new emotional stakes. Another area where Scream 7 struggles is its approach to the iconic Ghostface mystery. In most entries of the franchise, the reveal of the killer is the highlight of the film. The moment when the mask comes off is usually shocking, surprising, and often brilliantly twisted. In Scream 7, however, many viewers felt that the killer's identity was far too predictable. Some fans even claimed they guessed the twist within the first act of the movie. When the final reveal arrived, instead of shocking the audience, it left many people feeling underwhelmed. For a franchise famous for its clever twists, This was a major disappointment. Despite all these criticisms, there are still a few elements of the movie that fans appreciated. The cinematography is visually strong, and several scenes successfully recreate the tense atmosphere that the franchise is known for. The movie also attempts to explore new themes involving technology and modern culture, though these ideas are not always fully developed. Still, these positive aspects were not enough to overcome the film's deeper storytelling problems. The result is a movie that feels strangely conflicted. On one hand, it tries to celebrate the legacy of the Scream franchise by constantly referencing its history. On the other hand, it struggles to justify its own existence as a new chapter in the story. Instead of pushing the franchise forward, the film often feels trapped in the shadow of the past. For longtime fans who grew up loving these movies, this was perhaps the most disappointing aspect of all. As the debate around Scream 7 continues, many fans are now wondering what the future of the franchise might look like. The series has survived multiple creative shifts, new directors, and changing generations of audiences. It's possible that the next installment could learn from the mistakes of this film and return to the clever storytelling that made the franchise so iconic in the first place. But one thing is certain, Scream 7 has become one of the most divisive entries in the entire saga, and its reception proves that even legendary horror franchises are not immune to creative missteps.